Welcome to Career Insights with Ambition, the podcast where we delve into leaders' moments of truth that shape their careers and the businesses they work in. I'm your host, Chris Crolla, and each week we sit down with leaders to uncover the untold stories of their journey to success. Don't miss the next episode. Follow or subscribe wherever you listen. Hello and welcome to Career Insights with Ambition. I'm Chris Crolla and today we are joined by Sam Samhan. Sam has over 20 years experience in the finance space. He started at EY in the Middle East. He moved and worked in the US before moving to this great country of Australia. Sam's background is mainly in health and wellness industry before recently moving to Blue Glass, where you are now as CFO. Sam is big into his cycling and his F1. He's been a long-suffering Ferrari fan, much like myself, unfortunately. How are you today, Sam?
Hey, thanks, Chris. Great to be here. I'm doing very well. Thank you for that great intro. Appreciate it.
That's all right, mate. Did I miss anything out there?
No, I'll throw in some fun facts there, mate. No, that's a great intro. Definitely keen on the Formula One. On the cycling side, I would describe myself as a mediocre triathlete. But hey, I'll be riding the 155K Bondi to Bury charity event this November. That's to raise funds for dementia research. So cycling, I'm getting there, but a bit of fun facts about myself. I grew up moving a lot, so I definitely grew up in the Middle East, but moving is in my blood, from moving 5 schools to living in 6 different cities before settling here in Sydney in 2008.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, but one more fun fact. I'm a dad of 2 beautiful girls who keep me on my toes and make sure that I don't take myself too seriously.
Mate, that's it. I was gonna get to the family part, but that's lovely. You're obviously very settled in Sydney then. Is Sydney your favourite city that you've lived in?
Absolutely, mate. After living in 6 different cities, I think this is lucky number 7. I'm done moving. It's home and it's a beautiful place to be.
Even if it wasn't, no one likes moving, mate. So you've definitely moved enough that this has to be the final straw for you. So
what's there not to like? You know, it's good beer, good sport, good sun, good beach. Yes. And great people around.
Exactly. Keen to obviously have a chat with you about your career and obviously any insights that you would provide people looking to get into finance or even move their way up. But what was it about yourself that made you want to get into accounting and start your career in the Big Four in the Middle East?
Look, since my school years, and that's decades ago now, I've always been curious about different business structures and models, and I knew I wanted to be in business, particularly seeing my dad's highs and lows in many business ventures. My dad is a lawyer and writer, by the way, who happened to had a go and good fun at few businesses trying to support a family of 8. So from wholesale men's fashion to retail furniture stores to even chicken farms and then property.
Wow, very wide range there.
Mind you, he's a lawyer, right?
Yeah, definitely.
This got me more determined to get into the world of business and to discover how chicken could make money one day, right? So for me, accounting and finance has always been more than just numbers. It's been more about helping ambitious companies take big ideas and making them investable, scalable, and real. Another thing why I got into accounting is I've always had that trouble bug, and you'll see that through my career. And I've been given the advice early on that, accounting is a universal language. Accountants have some global transferable skills, and, the language of numbers is international. Hence my love to accounting and finance.
Yeah, numbers are numbers everywhere. So they say.
100%. Yes.
So you're one of 8.
I am, Chris. I am lucky number 7. I have 6 eldest sisters, then myself and another brother.
You say that 2 girls have kept you grounded. Imagine how grounded your father's been.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm always surrounded by beautiful girls in my life. I have 2 beautiful daughters here. and my wife, and even my dog is a female. So three beautiful daughters.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. And you mentioned like you've lived in obviously seven different cities, including Sydney. So where has the fact that you got into accounting, where has it taken you to in the world?
Look, I kicked off my career in the Middle East, Jordan, about a pharmaceutical company that I worked with straight after EY, and took me to North Africa, where I spent some time in Sudan and Algeria. I spent some time in Lebanon. Then I moved to the US, and I lived in three different cities in the US, and then Sydney here in 2008.
Yeah, and very nice. I mean, it just shows you as well. Accounting can take you to many different places, very literally there as well.
Absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
I mean, I know that you've been in pharma, you've moved into sort of health and wellness before moving to Blue Glass recently, but within that industry, I guess, what have you been most proud of in your career to date?
Look, Chris, to me, pride doesn't really come from a single deal or a balance sheet. Honestly, it's been about building resilience, adaptability, and belief in myself first, in my teams, investors, and partners. So I've always been good at taking calculated risks in my career and putting my hand up. As I mentioned, my first role out of uni was with EY, and then I joined that Global Pharmaceuticals, which allowed me to travel and spend more time overseas. I was always the supervisor who was saying, "Oh, there's an opportunity to cover up for a financial controller in Sudan. Who's going there? Me." There's an opportunity in Algeria. Who's going there? Me. So, and then, I moved to the US, and then for a couple of years after leaving the Middle East and North Africa, and then landed here in Sydney in 2008. So, what I'm proud of mostly is the resilience and adaptability I've personally built along the way, and then really radiated into my teams, if you like. The great teams and network I've built globally, and particularly here in Sydney over the last 18 years. And of course, the credibility that I've built working across so many different industries and organizations, from multinationals to SMEs to publicly listed. I could have thought I kicked off my career in the Middle East, if you like, 20 odd years ago. And today I am with a global laser tech company in the semiconductor industry that are really changing the world through their high tech innovation. So, yeah, I am a proud person, but again, mostly about what I've built through teams, stakeholders, partners, investors, and the network around myself.
Yeah, very good. Because we've like a few things to pick up on there, but we've obviously spoken a bit in the past. Like you are a self-confessed like risk taker. When you were putting your hand up for all these opportunities, was there ever a part of you that wondered, like, oh, what if I'm not up to this? What if it goes wrong? And like, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, like it's always in your head. Why am I doing this? I'm one of those people who say yes, jump in, and worry about the risk later. And I've always been lucky to, or seen the good in things and make the best out of the situations that I get myself into. Again, Chris, I think we learn from our mistakes, and you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So I always took the shots. I
Yeah,
am
good.
always, yeah, I always be proud to say, yeah, I can do that. I'm definitely a yes, then think about how to do it later.
Yeah, good. Obviously, you have a lot of belief in yourself and your ability, which you definitely should. But you mentioned earlier about instilling that belief in your teams as well, and the people who reported to you, and making them believe in themselves. Like, how did you do that?
Nurturing teams and the ability to lead, I've highlighted early on. And I've always been thinking of business as a P2B, people to people. And I am a people person. I am really always been trying to understand the ability or the gaps in the skill set of my team and what they want to build, and try to enable them to work on it themselves. Always been a sounding board and someone who actually listen in and not judge straight away of what you have in front of you, rather than how can you deal this with it and how you can make this work.
Yeah, very good, very good. I mean, it's a skill that I guess all leaders have, need, and want, and especially for people coming through to be leaders in the future, it's definitely something to learn. And that people to people skill set that you mentioned is definitely critical in that. Was there one particular moment of truth in your career that sort of set you on the way to where you are today as CFO of Blue Glass?
I would say, look, yes, there was that. My moment of truth probably came in early in my career. I was at one of the healthcare companies that I worked with and had an amazing boss at the time, someone I really looked up to, somebody who really was a coach and a mentor at the time, at the same time. Then it all changed when the company got acquired. And I found myself in a situation where I had a manager who frankly wasn't leading well, right? The team was disengaged, direction was unclear, and the team culture had turned very much toxic over the acquisition. Chris, at that point, I really had two choices. One is sit back and complain. The other is step up and quietly start leading and think of this more as an opportunity. And luckily, I chose the latter. I really focused on myself. I knew that the problem is not in me. I focused on really what are the gaps for me. This could be an opportunity for me to lead. So, what are my skill sets? What am I really lagging behind to develop that leader inside me to really step up and lead the team when we were missing that leader? I focused on creating clarity for myself and the team under me, better communication, and just really getting the people moving again. Look, it wasn't easy at the beginning. I was very uncomfortable being out of my depth at times. And they say magic happen when you are outside of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
But that experience is definitely the one that changed the course of my career. It showed me that I could work on myself, I could influence, I could lead, and I could really bring people together without formal authority. And looking back, I think that was the turning point that naturally pushed me towards more of a leadership roles where I could have a broader impact and help shape strategy and not just manage the numbers, but venture outside of the numbers into that leadership world. Yeah, that's definitely one of the moments that I would say helped, moment of truth that helped shape my career.
Man, that is incredible. And honestly, like, I'm just from doing this podcast series, I'm obviously seeing a pattern and a trend in taking those opportunities, but also making opportunities for yourself, which you've obviously described there. And I guess, like, creating opportunity out of nothing and taking advantage of that. It's very interesting. I read a book recently. I don't know if it's called Mindset. I don't know if you've heard of it. Carol Dweck. I'm not actually sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But she wrote it, and it talks about like a growth mindset. And it's very interesting to me because a lot of people in your situation you could have complained, you could have sat there, you could have done nothing and, not had that experience or had that drive or that will. But your mindset was one of growth and opportunity, essentially, to really take advantage of the bad situation that you were in and turn it around. So that's great work, mate. Take full credit for that. That's awesome.
Thanks, Chris.
We obviously talk about in this podcast series about like words of wisdom for the next generation that is coming through and people who are looking to be leaders and eventually be CFOs. What words of wisdom would you have for people coming through the ranks?
There's few. Let me start with an advice I try to give my daughters first. Yeah, it's definitely that curiosity, kindness, and resilience are superpowers that will carry you far. So for me, first, I would say stay curious, never stop learning. We know the world is changing so quickly, whether it's technology, capital markets, or leadership styles, right? Your biggest edge isn't really knowing it all. It's being willing to learn faster than anyone else. So that sort of don't stop learning and stay curious is one major or one main words of wisdom that I'll give for the next generation. The second for me is, look, I am a fun person. I'm probably my daughters interpret the CFO as a chief fun officer rather than a chief financial officer. But but I always say smart hard work pays off. So again, smart hard work pays off. Create that routine that helps you keep going and achieving your goals one step at a time. And then my third one would be, Chris, you know it, and I don't want to go into the AI world, but we live in this age of everything AI this, AI that. What we're missing is developing those soft people skills in this age, right? So surrounding yourself with good people, knowing how to deal with people, building a great network, and putting yourself out there. Say yes more often than no, and magic will happen. These probably would be my top three if there were three, Chris.
Mate, I love it. I love it all. I am particularly big in the curiosity part. But what you were saying there about AI, and it's probably not the platform to get into, but I've had a few discussions with leaders privately as well, where we're talking about the AI and the impacts in their business. One thing that AI has not gotten yet, and probably won't for the next foreseeable anyway, is the human contact and the human touch, and that feel for being able to connect people because there's an energy or there's a feel there, and there's a culture feel and things like that. It hasn't learned to think like that yet, and I don't know if it ever will. Probably will one day, but I definitely don't think it's going to be soon. So I love your advice on saying yes as well. I think that's absolutely key, mate, and it's a great way to wrap us up. Because if you say yes, as you said earlier, you miss 100% of the shots you say no to, right? So
absolutely.
Nah, mate, that's brilliant. I'm thank you so much for joining us. I love your perspective and your outlook on life, mate. You are a risk taker, which is very fun to be around. It's a great pieces of advice that you've given throughout this show. Best of luck in your role now and in the future as well. Thank you for coming on board, and I will speak to you soon. Cheers.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, mate. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
That concludes another insightful episode of Career Insights with Ambition. If you've been inspired by today's conversation, share it with a friend or leave us a review and subscribe to the podcast. Until next time, keep leading with ambition and turning your moments of truth into milestones for success. All right, cool. Career Insights with Ambition, brought to you by Ambition, a specialist recruitment agency committed to building better futures for organisations we work for and the professionals we help. Subject matter experts in accounting and finance, banking and financial services, technology and transformation, we're here to help. Find out more at ambition.com.au.